Alright, here we are again with another episode for our first person shooter Unity series. In this episode, I'm going to try to cover shooting. Obviously, one of the most important aspects of first person shooter is your gunplay. So we're going to try to add just some of the basics to get us shooting so that way we can start filling out the rest of the game. We can look at, I'm not going to cover stuff like recoil in this episode or spray patterns or anything like that. Um, or even animations. We're just going to worry about shooting and reloading. And then in another episode, I'll cover automatic shooting, as well as getting us some targets to shoot at. And the episode after that, we'll do enemy AI. And then we'll cover enemy AI shooting as well. So, to get us back on topic, in this episode, we're going to cover shooting. So, let's see. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to open up whatever browser that you use. And you're going to want to open up um, the Unity asset store. So Unity asset store, because we got to go get our gun asset. Go ahead and log in if you haven't already. I'm already logged in. And then we're going to look for low poly FPS weapons. And somewhere in here, here it is, we should be able to find this. If you don't want to use this one, that's fine, but I do recommend you find a pack that's very similar to this, that has at least a gun, as well as a bullet for us to use. If you don't want to do that, that's fine as well. But we're going to start with this. I actually really like this pack. Give it a heart. One of the favorites. Nice. Alright, so we're going to want to open this in Unity, and it's going to take us back to Unity. And it's also going to give us this little pop-up, if I can make it not snap to where it doesn't need to be. Terrible. There we go. And assuming it did it right, we can actually see, yeah, there we go, low poly weapons. So it's going to ask you to download it, so you press the download button. For me, it's re-download because I've already downloaded it on another Unity project. And then you're going to click import. It's going to tell you everything that's in the pack, all the meshes, the materials, a scene with it as well, and as well as some of the textures. So we can go ahead and import this. And it's going to import it into the project. So with that done, we can right click on the package manager tab that we created and just click close. We don't need it anymore. I'm also going to go over here to the right under layout and change it back to default. There we go. That looks so much better. And then I'm also going to go down here into assets, right click, create folder. I'm going to call this downloaded assets. And then we're going to download, or not download, we're going to drag and drop the low poly weapons into there. Sweet. So next up, we're going to want to go into our folder that we just downloaded, go into the prefabs folder, and we've got an issue. So what this is this is the materials being made in, well, not Universal Render Pipeline. Universal Render Pipeline has got a lot of fancy stuff in it, and anything that's not made for it is going to error out and become, well, this really bad shade of magenta. But that's okay, we can fix it. It's not the end of the world. All we gotta do is go over here to the materials, and oh yeah, we are definitely pink. Select both of these, go up here to the top right in the inspector, go under Universal Render Pipeline, and then simply change it to lit. So it should be Universal Render Pipeline lit now. And as you can see, the gun is no longer terribly pink or magenta. These should be fine as well. Alright, perfect. Then if we do Control S to save the scene, it'll reload all these to the right color. Very good. Alrighty. So next up, we're going to want to try our best to get this gun in the position of the player's view. Where are we facing you? Hard to tell. I'm also, real quick, I'm going to switch to the 2x3. This is what I typically work in when I work in Unity. But it's going to be really handy here because we can actually see both the scene view and the other view. But don't worry, I'm going to switch it back to Back to the other view in a second. Okay, where's our view here? What's going on? Okay, it's right there. Yeah, okay. Try to get this as perfect as we can. Don't worry about if it's not perfect. It's a-okay. Um, we can worry about fixing it more a little later. So let's do that. I don't think it needs to be raised up. I do think it probably needs to be scaled up a little bit more. So if you click this little scale option here, we can now scale it, and we drag the little middle cube, we can make it a little bit bigger. And I think that looks a little bit better. Yeah, that's not terrible. Not perfect, but not terrible. You could play around with this a little bit more, but for the sake of the tutorial, it'll do fine. All right, this looks good. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click Weapon 02 here, and I'm going to go under the prefab, and I'm going to unpack completely. What that just did is that turned the prefab into a regular asset, and we'll talk a little bit more about prefabs in a second. I'm also going to rename this to just rifle. Right? That's just for our own organization's sake. I am also going to right click rifle, and I'm going to go to create empty, and that's going to create a empty game object, and we're going to name this firing point. We're going to drag this toward the barrel, and if you haven't guessed, this is where we are going to shoot from. That's not what I wanted. Go. And of course, you can change that to your liking as well until you get the way you want. Obviously, this probably is not pointed at our crosshair, but that's okay too. Go more into that in a minute. All right, kind of like that. Looks pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag out our downloaded assets, go back to prefabs, and grab the rifle bullets. And for the sake of realism, I'm going to actually, first of all, we need to unpack it. Let's unpack it. Again, to unpack it, you just right click, go to prefab, unpack completely. And like I said, for the sake of realism, we're going to delete that half of it. And there we go. I've got a bullet. Name it to bullets. I think I'm going to do my organization a little bit better than that. I call it rifle bullet. Perfect. And we'll just kind of keep that somewhere we can see it for now. Kind of tiny, but oh, kind of tiny, but what would you expect out of a bullet? All right, so with that taken care of, we can now start writing some scripts. So if we go back to our assets folder, let me switch back to default real quick. We go back to our assets folder, go to scripts, and right click, go to create, sharp script, and we'll call this gun scripts. Something simple. Double click to open in Visual Studio. All right, excellent. Got Visual Studio open. And actually, if you want to use Visual Studio Code for Notepad, that's cool too. I'm just using Visual Studio because that's what Unity downloads for you when you start Unity, and so it's just handy to keep it consistent and keep Unity happy. At least I think so. All right, so with this settled, right off the bat, we don't need the start function. We're not going to be using it. Right. So let's start with getting us some variables. So let's do public form PowerPoint. Well, that's not how you spelled that. PowerPoint. let's do public game object bullet prefab. And then let's do public float bullet speed. We'll set that to, I think, 10 for default. It would help if I could spell. There we go, perfect. So I forgot to mention this actually. I'm going to be teaching you two types of shooting in this tutorial. I'm going to be teaching you raycasts, which is hit scan and actual like objects flying across the scene at high speeds. I will go ahead and say I think raycasts are probably the better way to go because they're practically instant. They don't really have to worry about speed, but in Unity, if you did the prefab and your bullets were traveling too fast, there's a good chance that the collision will not be detected, and that's pretty bad. I don't know what I was gonna write there. Okay. We're also gonna want a public float fire rates. F. We're going to want a public float weapon range. I think we're going to set that to 50F. A public integer damage per shot up to 20. A private float next fire time, and I forgot one more. We'll do public integer ammo, and we'll set that equal to 10. I think it's fine. Perfect. So an update in the update function, which if you remember gets called every frame the game is running, we're going to check to see what button we're pressing. So we can do if input.get button down, which is every time we press the button once, not if we hold it. This does not register holding. We can do fire 1, and this uses the input system. The input system automatically knows what fire 1 is. We'll go more into that in a second in the next part of this. We'll do and time is less than or greater than or equal to next fire time, and ammo does not equal 0. Let's break that out. So this is saying so long as we are pressing the fire 1 button, which in this case is left mouse, and time is greater than or equal the next fire time, and ammo is not 0. So long as this condition is true, we can do whatever's in this body. And we're going to do two things, like shoot prefab and shoot raycast. We're also going to do ammo minus minus. Ammo minus minus, that's called decrementing, or decrementing, and that's no different than ammo minus equal 1. Those are the same two lines. They do the same thing. We're going to write one more if statement here in the update. We'll do if input dot get key down, because now we're using the keyboard. And we'll do key code dot r. Perfect. So we can also do key code for the mouse, I believe. Make sure I'm right about that before I tell you that. Code dot. I think it's left. Get a left mouse. No? Alright, we'll come back to that. We'll leave it at fire 1 for now. Beside this one, we'll do ammo equals 10. If you ever get confused on some stuff like this, or what to type here, or your IntelliSense is not working, you can always look up the Unity API by going to Unity API, looking up the scripting API, and we can type in like key codes. If it'll work. There you go, key code. We can look up key codes, and we can see the entire list of key codes. So in here somewhere should be left mouse, I'm sure. Oh, wait, mouse 0, right there. So it was not left mouse. I think mouse 1, no, yeah. So mouse 0 is the left or primary mouse button. Mouse 1 is the right. Mouse 2 is middle mouse. And these are any additional buttons that your mouse may have. So if we go back to here, we can change this to eco.mouse 0. That should work fine. Not a string. I don't know what you're complaining about, but that should work. Okay, so now let's actually write the functions here. So outside of the void function, we'll do void prefab, which is one of our functions there. We'll break it out, and first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to set the next fire time equal to time plus the fire rate. And that's going to allow us to set fire rate, so that way we can't just like click as fast as we can and shoot all the time. Now we're going to get a reference to a game object. We're going to call it bullet. We're going to tell it to instantiate, which means spawn the bullet prefab at the fire point dot position with the transform dot rotation of whatever the script is on. So in other words, the bullet is whatever game object that we spawned, so the bullet prefab, and we're going to spawn it at the fire point's position with the rotation of the gun, which is what the script is going to go on. Now we're going to do rigid body, RB, Rigi, I do Rigi most of the time. Bullets dot get component, Rigi, it helps if I can type. Get component, rigid body. This is a function, so we do that. This is setting the, so when we got a reference to this when we spawned it, we also are going to get the rigid body off of the bullet. So each bullet is going to have a rigid body that we're going to access. We're going to do rigi dot add force fire point dot word times the bullet speed force mode dot, ooh, that's not how you type. I'm trying to look at my other screen. Force mode dot impulse. And if you remember impulse from last episode, that of course will fire. It'll add force instantaneously, which is exactly what we need for a bullet. We just need it to go pow right across the screen. And actually that's everything we need to shoot a prefab. So long as we're gonna change the next fire time, the next time we can fire every time. We're going to spawn the bullet. We're going to access the rigid body on the bullet, and we're going to add force to the rigid body on the bullet. Pretty simple. Let's do the recast now. Recast. Then we do the same thing. Next fire time equals time dot time plus fire rate. Then we need to recast hit, call it hit. And now we need a pretty long if statement. So if, alright, that's not right. If physics dot recast fire point dot position at the fire point, I just need to autocomplete fire point dot forward out hit weapon range. It's not forwards. I always do that. I feel like it should be forwards. Okay, so let's go check out what this means. So we can go to definition like I showed you last time. And whoa, that's a lot of words, but it highlighted what we needed right there. So this is saying we need a vector3 origin. So where the recast is starting from. We need a direction, and we need this is what's going to store all the information from the raycast. So whatever the raycast hits, it's going to very conveniently save it in this variable, as well as a max distance. So we can actually set a distance of our gun, which is pretty handy. Sweet. So yeah, same here. We have the origin, which is the fire point position. We have the direction, which is the forward of the firing point. We have what we're saving all the data of the thing we hit, and we have the range of the gun. Nice and easy. Find another if statement here. We'll say if dot transform dot compare tag is tagged enemy. We will debug dot log it. And debug.log, I don't think I've talked about this, is a very, well, I've talked about it in, I think, another episode, but I'll talk about it here. Debug.log is very handy because it will allow us to debug things to the console so we can read it. So if any of these if statements are wrong, if they're typed wrong, if I screwed up my logic, and the compiler doesn't throw an error because it's all typed correctly, the syntax is correct, but if the logic is wrong, we can use debug.log to try to figure out where exactly we're falling short. In this case, though, we're just trying to get feedback that we actually hit something because we don't have enemies to hit and we don't have health or anything like that. So this is the best we can do for now. So I think that is everything. So we will minimize this and we will go back to Unity, which is what I meant to do. Wait for those scripts to compile. Make sure you also save your scripts. I forgot to mention that. Save every time you go back to Unity. Alrighty, so now we have our gun script. So we're gonna go to the rifle, and before I forget, let's go ahead and drag the rifle under the main camera, and that's going to, I'll show you what that'll do. When we move now, the rifle will follow properly. So on the rifle, with it selected, we're going to grab and drag the gun script over to it, and we're going to break this open, grab the firing point, throw it on there, and now we need the bullet prefab. So here's where we need to talk about prefabs. So, like a minute ago, we went into the downloaded assets folder and we went into their prefab folder and we just pulled out some stuff. These objects already have mesh colliders on it, or mesh renderers, all this different stuff on them. And that's kind of handy because now if I want more guns, I can just keep dragging them out. Bam, 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 bam. Just more guns. We can have as many as we want. So that's the benefit of a prefab. So like let's say I need to make like a ton of enemies, but I don't want to have to like, oh, drag this into here, drag that into there, set this value, set that value. I can just do that with prefabs and just copy and paste it all. That's basically what we're doing. We're just copying and pasting out of the file and into the scene. So we need to make a new prefab, and I don't think I made a prefab folder here. I did not. So we're going to right click in our root asset folder, create folder, and we'll call it prefabs, and this will be our own prefab folder. And we're going to drag the rifle in there, like so. And we're also going to drag the rifle bullet into there. Perfect. So that made prefabs. You can tell they turned blue. We are going to now, this is where things get a little bit different. We can still drag and drop in here like this. I can do it right. And you'll notice we have a new little blue bar here and one here as well. If we go to overrides, click apply, that will apply that. So what that meant was we made a change in the scene that only that object had. So like if I change bullet speed to like 11, you'll see the blue bars reappear. And so now only this object has that. If we want all the guns we ever make to have a bullet speed of 11, we need to go to overrides and click apply all. And that'll apply it to all of them. So I think that is perfect. I think there might be one more thing we need to do. I think that's to rotate this. Well, I haven't tested it yet, so I can't say. We'll also notice that we're getting these errors. Unity is complaining about how we set this up. So real quick, we're going to select all of our weapons here. And we're going to change the collider system from just a regular mesh collider to a convex mesh collider. And yeah, you can see what that did. It's a thing. It's a thing. We're gonna do the same thing for the bullet as well, because it's gonna complain about the bullet if we don't. And of course, we're going to want to apply all the overrides. And then once you've done that, you can click the clear button and it'll all go away. Just like that. One other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to probably add an enemy, I imagine. So I'm going to add a capsule to the scene. I'm going to drag it up here, join us. And then I'm going to go up here to the upper right, under tag, add a tag, click this plus button, call it enemy, click save, reselect the capsule, go back under tag, and just select enemy. And that'll add the enemy tag. The reason for that is because in the gun script, um, we asked the, I guess I didn't explain this. So obviously we're storing the information of the hit object. So we're saying, hey, hit, we got to make sure whatever tag you have is enemy. Otherwise, this is not going to display. And the reason for that is because when we hit something, we don't want to necessarily, like if I do hit dot take damage or something, damage per shots, right? If I do this, that's going to error out because not every object that we hit in the scene is going to have the take damage function on it. So that's very important. I'm just going to control Z that actually. Back in Unity. And yeah, so that's tagged. That all looks good. Let's see if it works. Alrighty. So, oh, I forgot. Okay. So, back on our bullets, I seem to have forgotten to add a rigid body on it. So you can click add component and click add rigid body. And of course, we're going to want to override that, like so. Perfect. Now it should be correct. Okay. Now let's test it. Gotta make sure those bullets have the rigid bodies. Okay. So if I left click on this, clear this. Do tell. I thought I fixed this. Be on about. Ah, because it's on the child. Okay, fair enough. I don't. I'm not gonna fix this correctly right off the bat. I'm gonna leave it broken in a way. So what it's complaining about is that it's trying to get the you know what? Yeah. There we go. Fix it. Okay. So it's trying to get the component off the bullet itself, but the bullet itself is a reference to the parent, which is this. Second. It'll hurry up. Which is this. As you can see over here on the right in the inspector, there's no rigid body. But on the actual child of the parent object, there is in fact a rigid body and a mesh collider and all that good stuff. So it's telling me that it doesn't know where the rigid body is because it thinks it's supposed to be looking in here and not here. So by adding in children, we've basically told it, hey, like just look in the children and you'll find what you need. Probably. That might work. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. And yeah, it looks like we're doing everything we need to do. We're spawning the bullets, but I can't actually see the bullets. So I don't actually know if they're working. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go back in the scene, go into the prefab, and let's scale this up by like a ton. Like just an absolute ton. We can kind of see what we're supposed to be looking at. I don't know why it's all the way up there. It's not supposed to. There we go. Make sure you apply those overrides. And let's see the magic happen. Ow. Okay. So right off the bat, that's bad. We're not firing forwards, we're firing to the right. I'm pretty sure we could solve this by going to the firing point, setting this to -90. Most have been able to. That should have been the fix that I tried in the other scene. Excuse me, gentlemen. Let me see what I did wrong. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, I don't really know what that was about because I changed it again. Like okay, we're gonna fall. Okay, we gotta move that. That's a hazard. I changed it to negative 90 again, and that's the only thing I changed, and it's working fine. So I don't really know what that's about or why that's doing that, but yeah, we can now shoot. As you can see, we also run out of ammo, so I'm gonna click R, and we can shoot again until we run out. Pretty handy. We'll also notice that when we click anywhere in the scene, um, these bullets are dangerous, man. They are launching me everywhere. Um, we don't get the hit register, but when we shoot the enemy, we do. We can see the counter in the bottom right change to 4. If yours doesn't look like that, you can just click the collapse button, and yours probably looks a little bit more like this. So every time we shoot this, it should add another one. I prefer to leave it in collapse though, because then it's not as, messy. But yeah, that should be everything I was going to cover here. I think we're going to do a little bit of editing here to make this better, because it's kind of terrible right now. If you want to change your fire rate, the higher the number it is, the slower you're going to fire. So the lower this number is, the faster you'll fire. We can also change the range for the raycast, the damage per shot, as well as the ammo. We haven't really done much with the damage, but I added it in for next episode. We're also, if you also want to change, oh, did I not add? I just realized something. I don't think I added. I did not. That's very important. Okay, so one more thing in the script I completely forgot to add. Under the Rigi, we need to destroy bullets after 3 seconds. That's what that means. They're using the destroy function. We're destroying the bullet, and we're going to do that after 3 seconds. And that'll keep us from having like a dozen bullets in our scene. Oh my gosh. So, if you look over there in the left, you'll see that the bullets spawn and they're removed. Just like that. Over here in the left. There you go. Perfect. So let's tweak this a little bit. Let's change the bullet speed to like 100. When I do my testing, I always try to do kind of insane values. So that way I can get an idea of how good or bad it is. You can also see what I mean by speed issue in Unity, where it just clips right through this dummy. Yeah, not too great. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to collide. Yeah, it goes right through the floor. It's Unity's not always that good. But okay, so you can change that, and I don't think there's anything else I'd change here. If you want to change how the bullet behaves, for example, if you want less drop off or more drop off, you'll go into the, let me undo play. You go into your prefabs folder, go into the bullet, click this little open button up here, select this, and then start changing this. Change the mass of it. You can change the drag and angular drag. You can tell it, hey, I want it to use gravity and have drop off. You can tell it not to. You can freeze your rotations, so that way that's good as well. But yeah, so if you want your prefab bullets to behave a little differently, you can play with these settings as well as your bullet speed, and you'll be able to tweak it into exactly what you want to happen. And that it'll just allow for a better feeling bullet maybe than what you had before. But I think that is all I had today. We can do just about everything we wanted to do. Also, don't forget to actually change your bullet size back to 1. That's kind of important. Otherwise, you're gonna have big old bullets. That might not be what you want. It might be what you want, might not. But yeah, that is everything. We can shoot, and then the right there, we can see the ammo countdown. Press R and go back to 10. And we can change the firing rates. We can change the bullet speed. We can manipulate the bullet. And we've got a really good FPS game coming along. We do have a little bit more work to do, like to make the assault rifle automatic and to maybe add some animations, maybe some enemies and stuff like that we just haven't quite gotten into. Um, But all in due time. The next episode is going to be changing the gun to automatic and adding a HUD display for the ammo, uh, as well as probably setting up some of the other stuff as well. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If I didn't explain something properly or you think I could have explained it better, please leave a comment or if you know me, message me and let me know. I am open to all criticisms uh, because I'm still, as usual, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get the gist on some things in Unity. So if I explain something poorly or you want me to elaborate on it or expand on it, or if there's something you want to see even in this series, I will definitely cover it. Just let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching.